Welcome to the world's #1 fitness business podcast for health club owners, gym managers, and fitness entrepreneurs. As always, this will be a great show as we have another expert to help your fitness business and your career. We'd like to thank our premier sponsor, Active Management, for supporting us, and we highly recommend becoming a member of Active Management to strengthen your business in 2016. There are loads of resources members receive, so join the Active Tribe today at www.activemgmt.com.au. Now that's enough from me. Let's welcome the show's amazing host, Chantal. What's on this week's show?
Hi, Harper, and welcome back, everyone. And thanks for joining me for another week of the Fitness Business Podcast. It is a very special show because this week's guest is the amazing Jeb Blount, sales acceleration specialist and best-selling author of 7 books, including Fanatical Prospecting, People Follow You, and People Buy You. Like I mentioned last week, I was seriously blown away by the information that Jeb shared during our recent interview. And here's the best bit. He was so generous with his advice that we have not 1, but 2 weeks of Jeb goodness to share with you all. So stay tuned because I'm going to tell you more about today's show in just a second. First of all, it's time to announce our download milestones. These are the shows that have hit over 500 downloads in the past month. And let me tell you, they are well worth listening to. So here they are. Mo Hagan, show 46. Ann Coppins, show 45. Lisa Maltman, show 39. Justin Tamsett, show 5. Deborah Warner, show 23. The Best of Women in Fitness, show 40. Lexi Griffiths, show 44. Justin Tamsett, show 43. And The Best of the Boys, show 41. A huge congratulations to all of these guests. And don't forget, if you miss any of those shows, just head over to fitnessbusinesspodcast.com and you can check them out. Now, before we go any further, I want to do a shout out to one of our fantastic sponsors, Visual Fitness Planner. If you're a health club owner and you haven't checked out the VFP, then you need to. So jump over to www.vfp.us for more information.
This month, we have an awesome prize for people who subscribe to the show notes at www.fitnessbusinesspodcast.com or engage with the Fitness Business Podcast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or even emailing us. Do it and you may be this month's winner. Now it's time for this week's guest.
That's right, Harper. This week's guest is the amazing Jeb Blount. He's the best-selling author of 7 books, including Fanatical Prospecting, People Follow You, and People Buy You. He's a sales acceleration specialist who helps organizations reach peak performance fast. Through his companies, Sales Gravy, Channel EQ, and Innovate Knowledge, he advises many of the world's leading organizations and their executives on the impact of emotional intelligence and interpersonal skills on sales, leadership, customer experience, channel development, and strategic account management. During part 1 of our chat, Jeb talks about the human element in connecting with customers. He shares advice on retention in a 24/7 fitness center model, and he gives us the 5 most important questions to ask in sales. I won't make you wait a second longer. Here's part 1 of my chat with Jeb Blount. Jeb, are you ready to fire our global tribe of fitness business owners and managers?
I am absolutely ready.
Awesome. And are you ready to overload our tribe with pearls of wisdom, strategies for success, and tips to make them better leaders and business people?
We're going to overload them so much that next week they're going to be carrying out wheelbarrows of money from their businesses.
Oh my God, that sounds awesome. Well, let's get stuck into today's show. Now, I want to say a huge welcome to you, Jeb. I'm so excited to have you on the show, a fellow podcaster, I might say. So welcome along.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
You know, I actually think you're probably my first guest that has his own podcast show.
Really?
I think so. I was having a think back before we spoke, and I was thinking, you know what? I don't think I've had another podcaster on the show. And Tribe, I want you to jump on and check out Jeb's podcast. It is, correct me if I'm wrong, Sales Gravy podcast, the Sales Gravy podcast. Is that what we?
Yeah, it'll be just put my name in, Jeb, Blount, Sales Gravy. There's a couple of Sales Gravy podcasts out there, but that's the one you want to get.
Yeah, guys, you've got to go on and check this podcast out. It is absolutely awesome, and it's a real treat for us to have Jeb on the show today. Now, as all of you were hearing, I mean, Jeb's had such an impressive career, got amazing amount of experience behind him. But Jeb, tell us this. Surely it can't have all been smooth sailing. Have you had any hurdles along the way?
Oh, goodness gracious. I've had so many hurdles, so many mistakes, so many roadblocks. And, we wake up and we have roadblocks every day. I mean, I'll go back to 2010. We'd invested our life savings into building salesgravy.com, which is a sales job portal. And our website went down one day, and it was down for 2 weeks. And I have customers, I have a subscription program, and there was a point in time there, and I can tell you, I thought that the whole world was going to end. And my body hurt because it was like all of this work I'd done. I had, taken everything that I'd owned and put it at risk to build this company. And all of a sudden it was gone. And, we fixed it. Eventually it came back up again. We didn't lose any customers at the time, Lord have mercy. But it made me stronger because I vowed that would never happen again. And I made a lot of changes to the way I ran my business and the people that I was doing business with. And thankfully we've never had that problem again.
Wow, that's an incredible story. Thank you for sharing that with us. Tell us this, Jeb. We actually discovered you after reading one of your books, People by You. Tell us what inspired you to write that particular book.
That's how I sell. I love People by You. It's my best-selling book. It's been read all over the world, but it's how I sell. I mean, I believed and I was looking at the way that people were going about doing business, and we've got a lot of focus on processes, on technology. And, when I looked at all of the sort of the pendulum swing to that, I noticed that what was getting left behind was the human experience. And also noticed that there are a lot of millennials, a lot of younger people that are coming up into our world, into business, into sales, into the fitness industry. And they have a hard time seeing customers and prospects as human beings, and they see them more as an abstract. So I wrote People by You to show people that the human experience is far more important than any of the other stuff that we think is important in terms of building our businesses, retaining our clients, and and building our reputation. And in fact, a number of studies have come back over the last 5 years or so that show us and indicate that although there is a overall buying experience based primarily on aesthetics. So if you run a fitness center or a gym, the aesthetics have a big part in the experience. And technology, as we all know, is driving a lot of the customer experience when people are dealing with you. But the studies come back over and over and over again that indicate that more than 50% of the experience is human related. So whether it's dealing with a customer that you currently have, or it's working with a prospect, it's how they interact and how they feel about the people in your business that's going to have more of an impact on their decision to choose you and to continue to choose you than any other aspect of the total experience.
Jeb, that's really, sums up why we wanted to have you on the show, because, the book and your philosophies around sales is just so relevant for our fitness business owners, for our fitness professionals. So I want to dive into that a little bit further in that people side of things. Can you maybe share with us the term likability? What does that mean?
If you think about just the way we operate as human beings. So when we first got on the call, I'd never met you before. We hopped on. It was, you're immediately a likable person. And the way our brains operate is that when we meet another human being, we're making these subconscious decisions about whether we actually like them. And those decisions are happening without our conscious, impact us, our conscious mind making those calls. And sometimes we know whether we like somebody in the first 4 or 5 seconds. So if we know that, if we understand that, what we have to do is recognize that there are some patterns that determine whether or not we're going to be likable to other people. They're easy patterns, like how you dress and how you look and how you carry yourself. For example, in the fitness industry, If the person comes in and meets your salesperson and your salesperson is fit and they're well put together and they're dressed well and they look good and they're groomed well, I mean, that immediately makes that person more likable. That's the aesthetics. But there's also, are you polite? Are you nice? Are you confident? Are you enthusiastic about what you do? And do you have a smile on your face? You know, as human beings, some of that subconscious or unconscious decision we make about whether we like someone is based on our ability to read facial expressions. And humans are fantastic at looking at these patterns. We all do that. And worldwide, no matter whether you're in Australia or the United States, or you're in Asia, or you're in Africa or South America, the smile is the universal language of likability. And the problem that we have, especially when you're working in the fitness industry, is your head's down, you're working on your business, you're focusing on those things, and you sometimes forget that you're always on stage and that your customers are watching everything you do. And especially your new prospects are watching everything you do. So when I'm working with businesses like the businesses in your tribe, it's all about, when someone walks through the door, look up, smile, pay attention to them, shoulders up, chin out. Show them that you want them, that they're the most important part of your day and you want them to be there. And to me, all of those things together become, create likability. And likability is the gateway to human connection. If people don't like you, they're not going to connect with you. They're not going to do business with you. They're not going to keep doing business with you. And if people like you, they'll at least give you a chance to connect with them and to build a relationship. And I think that we all know that, especially in the fitness industry, relationships are huge.
Absolutely. It's interesting, Jeb, because in fitness all over the world now, we're seeing a lot more 24-hour gyms come into play. We're seeing a lot of models where staff are coming out of the gyms and I guess technology is going in. Where would you say technology and interpersonal skills, how can that work? Do you have any suggestions, any tips around how fitness businesses might be able to make that model work?
Absolutely. I mean, I think that the reality is that we know that people want to do things easier and faster. And the nice thing about the 24-hour model is that I can do the gym anytime I want to. That's the beautiful thing about the podcast model. I can listen anytime I want to. And we have the same model in YouTube. We have the same model at Sales Gravy. We build a lot of online courses because we know people want to take courses when and where they want to. So we understand that. And I run a tech company. I mean, my company, we sell stuff via our website, our online courses. We have these beautiful, apps that we have on Android and iPhone. And the thing that we keep finding is that when people are making decisions about whether to do business with us and to keep doing business with us, it's all about the human interaction. And there's so many cool ways that you can interact with people these days. I mean, you can interact via, your newsletter and staying in touch with people and making that human. You can interact by what I've got on my team are account managers who reach out to my customers who basically do business with me via arm's length. They have a credit card and I have a portal and they buy things from one part of my business. I own several companies, but they buy things from my business. But we found out that if we call them and we talk to them and we build relationships with them, that they stay with us longer. And if they're thinking about leaving and going to one of my competitors, they at least call us and give us a shot at keeping them. And most of the time we can. And when they go to my competitors and realize that my competitor is not going to have that type of relationship with them, they'll often come back to us because the grass isn't always greener. And so I think that if I'm an owner, especially of a 24/7 center, and I'm pulling people out, you're probably not pulling everybody out. And there is at some point, somebody has to decide they're going to sign up for you. Now, if you can do the entire transaction, on the internet and they give you the credit card and they come in and they do that, what I would do is I would go back and look at my retention rates. How long am I keeping them? And what does that look like? And if my retention rates are dropping in that model, what I'm going to do is I'm going to figure out how I can weave in human interaction that helps me build a better client experience and overall, keeps them retained over the longer time. Because we all know the longer we can keep someone, the more money we make in the fitness industry. It's notorious especially as contracts come out of these long-term contracts come out and we give people more choice. It gets harder to keep people, and it's just easy for people to drop out if they don't have, another human being encouraging them and bringing them along.
Jeb, in the book you talk about, and I love this part, you talk about breaking business down to one person solving another person's problems. Do you want to explain that to us and tell us, do you think that, possibly modern salespeople have lost sight of that?
I do. I think that, people tell me all the time that sales is harder and more complex. And then if you read, books on sales, there's so much, we overcomplicate it, whether it's prospecting, bringing someone to the top of the funnel, or closing, or we're presenting things to people. And the real message behind that is sales is just a conversation. And for example, 2 days ago, I was in Annapolis, Maryland, with a group of yacht sales reps. And I had a couple of Aussies in the group too, and moved to America to sell yachts. They actually sell to America to sell yachts. And we were going through, the process of how do you interact with someone at a yacht show, for example. And it was funny how overcomplicated some of these guys had made it. They were basically having interrogations. They were asking all of these questions versus just engaging in a conversation, a human conversation. And when you peel all of the complexity away and I'm in the conversation, you're going to do business with me if I allow you to tell me what your problems are, or you tell me enough that I can show you that you have problems that you don't even know about. Mm-hmm. And all I have to do at that point is to begin bridging my solutions to your problems using your language, mm-hmm. which you taught me because I was listening to you. Because instead of me following some complex process to get there, and that's not to say that sales isn't a process, it is. But I understand that I'm just having a conversation. And if I don't overcomplicate it, it's pretty easy for two human beings to figure out how to do business together.
So that the listening that you talk about is so key. And we do talk a lot about it in the fitness industry. And I know that you broach it in the book as well, but it goes to show how important that is in that process that you talk about.
Yeah, I think that let's just step back and you take a look at the process where people buy. And I spent a lot of my early career, and I've written a lot of curriculum. I've worked with a lot of weight loss franchises. And I love the weight loss industry. I like it because it's emotional. I like it because a lot like the fitness industry, there's these rifts in the status quo or disruptions in the status quo for people. And all of a sudden they're open to changing their lives. And if they have the right person there that can pull them in and bring them along, you can do some extraordinary things. And I just dig the industry. But if you think about it, like, let's just say that you've got a new prospect coming in, there's basically a couple of processes. There's your sales process. So for example, someone may come in, you greet them, you get to know them, you do a little qualifying, you do some discovering, maybe you take them on a tour, and there's steps of the tour. And along the way, you're asking them questions and, you're collecting yeses. They're saying, hey, this is what I want. You're having to break through all of the failures they've had in the past before they make a choice to do business with you. All of those things are happening. You have your process, but they also have a process, and that's decision-making process. How do they decide to buy from you? And I go back to arguing that people are buying the person that's taking them on the tour. They're buying your rep. They're not buying your gym. Mm-hmm. That doesn't mean that aesthetics aren't important. Trust me, they're very, very important. But people don't typically buy from people they don't like or they don't trust. So along the way, there's 5 questions. And these are the 5 most important questions in sales. Your prospect, and by the way, your customers are asking these same questions when they decide whether they re-up with you. But these 5 questions are, do I like you? So they're asking that question of you. Do you listen to me? Very, very important. Do you make me feel important? Our most insatiable human need. In fact, the singularity of all human behavior in the first world is based on, do I feel significant or important? And most of our behaviors, good and bad, stem from that. Do you get me? And, this is important. They're asking, do you understand me? Do you understand things from my perspective? You can only get there if you listen and if you understand people, you make them feel important. And do I trust and believe you? Your prospect says, do I like you? Do you listen to me? Do you make me feel important? Do you get me? And do I trust and believe you? And when do you answer those 5 questions during your sales process, your tour, or however you take people through your facility? When you answer those questions in the affirmative, it becomes almost impossible for them not to do business with you. And all of that's predicated first on the things that we're talking about, understanding that it's just a conversation and you're pulling people through, and you have to be able to present the compelling reason for them to make that change in their life today using their language, using their situation, using your understanding of where they are, and using that to present it, not your words, because people don't buy for your reasons, they buy for their reasons.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for sharing those 5 questions with us, Jeb, because I know that is something very practical that our tribe can go back and I guess look at what's happening in their businesses, talking to their teams about how that walkthrough is happening, whether or not we're taking those things into account. So thank you very much for sharing those. That is absolutely so valuable for us. I want to talk more around that relationship, that rapport building, because if you set, a foot in the fitness industry, rapport is such a popular word that we use all the time, and every sales trainer on the planet emphasizes the importance of rapport. Do you mind if I ask you a few questions around that topic?
Sure. You're probably going to get me on my soapbox now.
Tell us, how would you define rapport?
Well, I don't talk about rapport very much. And when I'm in with a group of salespeople and I tell people, forget about rapport, I can always see the sales vice president in the back, going, oh my God, I can't believe you just said that. But the problem for rapport is that the way it's taught by most sales trainers is it's a thing that you do. Like it's a step along the way. So, I qualify them and then I build rapport. And so for far too many salespeople, the rapport building step is just checking off a box. And if you go back to the sort of the iteration of rapport, it's a big part of something called neuro-linguistic programming, or NLP. Mm-hmm. And which is very popular. And if you'd like to go drop $2,500, I can give you a trainer that will teach you NLP. The problem for like most salespeople, if you own a gym or you own a fitness center and you've got salespeople and you're spending a bunch of money on lead gen, you know that those folks are coming in off the street, walking into your door because there was a trigger event in their life and they heard your ad and they walked through the door because of that. They saw you online. You have a really, really short window to get them to sign up before they just swing back to where they were before. And your salesperson, if they're just going through the motions of checking off rapport, I'm building rapport, the problem is it comes off as manipulative. They ask stupid questions, they say stupid things, and then the salesperson goes right back to doing the one thing that pretty much runs people out of your door. They start talking. They talk and they talk and they talk and they talk. And the reason they talk is because when they talk, it makes them feel important. And they're not asking questions, not listening. And when I go back to this, this concept of asking questions and learning about people so that you can build a bridge to your product using their language, not pitching, which is basically these kitchen sink data dumps that you give to your prospects. You're actually using what's important to them to show them how you can solve their problems, how you can help them. That's important. Where the rapport step gets in the way. My pitch is forget about rapport. Just forget about it. It doesn't matter. Here's all you have to do. And in fact, I don't have to teach a single salesperson how to build rapport. I don't have to teach them any rapport building techniques. And although I do teach salespeople, there are different personality styles. And especially in B2C sales, there are a couple of personality styles that it's important for them to understand and respond to. For the most part, personality styles don't matter either, as long as you were doing one thing. And that is your prospect is talking and your mouth is shut. That you're asking open-ended questions that get your prospect telling their story. And when people are telling their story and when they're talking, they feel important. They feel significant. It makes them feel great. And when you listen to them, you in essence, you give them the greatest gift that you can give another human being. You make them feel important, like you care about them. And this is why listening builds such deep emotional connections. So while your competitor salespeople are out there trying to build rapport by asking stupid questions about stupid things, your salespeople are actually listening to your prospects, making your prospects feel like they're the most important part of their day, and getting that prospect to really talk about their story so they begin to get below the surface. So they get below the buyer language that your prospect walks in with, all the things that they know about gyms, and they actually get the prospect to begin talking about the emotional reasons while they're going to choose to join your fitness center. And when that happens, magic happens. I mean, all bets are off, because you can move people to make those decisions, because now you're demonstrating, look, I understand you. I understand that this is where you want to get to. I understand all about why this is important to you. I understand that, your daughter's getting married in 3 months, and this is the most important thing, that you look great in that dress. And so you can shift people, into a gym membership by asking the right questions and simply talking about what's important to them. And so my suggestion is this: be likable, open the door to a connection, ask questions, and listen to them. And this is the one thing, and I'll leave this discussion with this, that I think that we miss sometimes, is that when you're listening to people, because it makes them feel so good, it taps into something called the law of reciprocity, which means if I do something nice for you, it'll make you want to do something nice for me. And so as I'm moving you through the sales process, you feel more and more compelled to say yes to me, because I'm making you feel so good about the buying experience.
Okay, tribe, that was part 1 of my interview with Jeb. Now, next week, make sure you tune in when he talks about how to dive even deeper to uncover a prospect's underlying motivation. He answers the question, can anyone sell? And he shares his top 3 tips on selling services.
The Fitness Business Podcast is very appreciative of our podcast partners. Here's a quick word from one of our partners.
The new Active Management membership is perfect to help reduce your stress of running a fitness business, with shortcuts, tools, and education all at your fingertips. You will be strengthened as a leader and a business with the new Active Management membership. To find out more, go to activemgmt.com.au and click on the big blue button that says you can be a member now. There are 4 packages to suit every budget and need. It is with great pleasure that I welcome back to the show Liesl Klebe, our resident people expert. Welcome back, Liesl.
Hi there, how are you going?
Very well. This is exciting because we're actually sitting next to each other, which normally, Tribe, we don't do. We're normally at other ends of a Skype call, but we're actually recording today from Philex 2016 in Melbourne. So Liesl and I are both down here hanging out. Are you enjoying the weekend?
Having an amazing time. So many influential people and people who've done amazing things in the industry and so much to learn. It's great to always be able to keep on learning in this kind of industry.
I always feel like I walk away from Philex with a head full of information.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
It's a bit of it's kind of a bit mind-blowing in some respects, isn't it?
Yeah, it takes a while, I think, to process everything that's been given to you and then find how you can apply that in your own area of work in the fitness industry.
Absolutely. Well, look, let's get stuck into today. Now, last time we caught up, you said that you're going to talk to us about disc profiling for our group fitness tribe. So do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so basically, probably a lot of people have heard about disc profiling, but it's a way of doing a really simple test with your staff or your team just to find out where they sit within a disc that's quartered into a D, I, S and C. And just using those letters, we can identify certain personality traits within people, and it helps us to manage our staff and to best utilise their natural skills, I suppose, and in order to place them in positions in our organisations where they're going to do the most good in the easiest way, sitting within their own essence, I guess.
Okay, so I guess for anyone that either isn't familiar with disc or perhaps they haven't done it or heard of it in quite a while, do you want to maybe run us through what each of those quadrants stand for?
Sure. So basically with our D people, that's our dominant quadrant. So those sort of people will be direct, results orientated, firm, strong-willed and forceful. And probably already some people can go, yep, that's me. The I people, which is most group fitness instructors or a lot of people who are involved in Group X, they're your influencers. So outgoing, enthusiastic, optimistic. They're usually fairly high-spirited and pretty lively. So they're perfect people to influence your members in a club, and they're great to be able to use that powerfully in that area. S people, they're your really steady, even-tempered. They tend to be very patient, humble, tactful, very accommodating. And obviously you can already see it's important to have a good share of all of these qualities across your teams. And then your C people, they're your conscientious ones. So they tend to be precise, systematic, very logical about things, usually quite results orientated, but they can be quite analytical and quite private as well. Less of those extroverted frontline people.
Okay, so in a group fitness environment, when you're going through the hiring stages, you're looking at new people, how would the DISC profile come into effect in that situation?
Yeah. For me, if you're wanting to get a real sense of someone and what their natural qualities are, there's a very simple multiple choice test that you can give to people to find out what their DISC profile is. And it's normal for people to have a blend of a couple of things. It would be a rare thing that you would just come out as all of one and none of any of the others. You'd normally have two that are reasonably high, like a D and an I or something, and then a couple that are a little bit lower. And it just gives you a sense of where that person fits, what their natural tendencies are. And you can either choose to develop the other tendencies in them or really utilise those natural tendencies. And for instance, with group exercise, you're really looking for those influencer people. But it's also good to have people who do have some dominance or do have some analytical skills, and also those steadier ones are also important. You need a mix across your team. Mm-hmm. But you'll find most people will naturally fall into that very high I category.
So, Lisa, would you say with the DISC profiling that each of those quadrants lends itself to a particular form of group fitness or a particular class?
You do find that people will naturally gravitate towards something that is very much within their DISC profile. So you're very driven, direct, analytical type people will go towards something like cycle. They're looking for results and they're looking for numbers and they're looking for heart rates and, RPMs. And in same with the membership, those membership people that tend to go to those sorts of classes, you'll find they'll also fit into that DISC profile. So when you're looking to promote that kind of program, you know that you need to promote that with something results driven. You're not going to promote it with come and get a free towel at the end of your class. They're not going to be interested, but they will be interested in, can you compete against this team and beat them? So you can really use it in that way. You'll find your really steady and calm people will gravitate towards your mind-body programs, perhaps yoga, body balance, Pilates. Your party people will gravitate towards your body attack and your body step, and they'll be your influencer people, happy to be in the front row, happy to make some noise, never afraid to be the centre of attention. Mm-hmm. And the dominance will come in across a range of programs, but you might not see so much of that. Mm-hmm. You may see it in your membership base, but you're probably more going to see your I's, probably your S's and some of the C's in classes. And you can use that when you're promoting those programs to know what's going to appeal to that sort of DISC profile.
Great. That's really interesting. So it sounds like quite often having a mixture of each of those profiles is there are relevant opportunities for those behavioural styles within our group fitness environments.
Yeah, definitely. And everyone will have a little mix of all of those things. It'll be just a couple that are more dominant than others. Yeah.
Okay, so I mentioned right at the very beginning that we are hanging out at Philex this weekend. Tell me a little bit about what you've been up to whilst you've been here.
All right. So on the Friday, I was involved in some 30-minute coaching sessions for group fitness management roundtables. So we're going to be running some GFM roundtables in June this year, potentially in Sydney at this point. And I was just doing one-on-one 30-minute coaching sessions with people to come and sit down and go, what's going on in your club and group fitness? Do you need any help in any areas? And it was a chance for people just to come and raise things that, how did they get their team on board? How did they get them to go the extra mile? There were a couple of American clients who were having issues with their centre being located in a dangerous spot. They couldn't run their primetime classes because it wasn't safe for members to come. Wow. So talking around issues. And when we get to the round table, it will be a matter of those people coming to me with 3 or 4 key things they want to resolve. And then just coming into the room with an open mind, prepared to try different things, prepared to be really transparent with all of their information and knowing that that stays behind those closed doors. But we're all sharing in order to try and resolve problems that are happening in other people's clubs. You may find there's someone who's dealt with this in the UK or America or somewhere else in Australia and come up with a good solution. So it will probably be about 25% learning outcomes from me, and then it's about 75% facilitated learning amongst all of us.
That sounds really interesting. And from the one-on-ones that you did on Friday, were there any kind of major common themes that you would say came out of those conversations?
I think the common theme really is the building of tribes, to be honest, which is interesting because it's what I have focused on most. But people have just gone, I'm finding it hard to get instructors who will go the extra mile, or how do I get them engaged? If I have a limited budget, I can't pay them any more money. There are no more perks or benefits that I can give to them. How do I get more out of them? How do I get them more involved in their classes? How do I reward them for upskilling and becoming the best that they can be? So when you are in a situation that there's not much more that you can offer tangibly tangibly, what intangible things can you do to really tighten up that tribe? So I guess that's perhaps one of the common things.
That sounds really interesting. And one last question, Liesl. If any of our listeners, if any of our tribe are interested in getting involved in the Group Fitness Roundtable, what's the best thing for them to do? How do they get in contact with you?
The best thing is probably just to go through the Active Management website. There's a link there they can click on for more information, and we can send out information to them from there. But it will be the 3rd of June and probably in Sydney, so coming up real quick. So just a great sharing of great minds all coming together in one room, and everyone will walk home with a toolkit of things they can apply.
Yep, excellent. Well, I'm sure if anyone misses out, because it is only like a week away or so, that is very soon. If anyone misses out, you can still inquire, you can still get some information. And what we'll do, we'll put a direct link on this week's show notes through to that page that Liesl mentioned on the Active Management website. Now, what have you got for us next month?
Next month, we will talk about the management of change. I've been involved lately in a lot of management of change at Virgin Active, where I'm working right now, in terms of some studio renovations and some major timetable changes and some staffing changes as well. So we might talk about management of change and communication of that change to both staff and members.
I think that sounds like a great topic. We look forward to you joining us again next month, Liesl. Thanks so much.
You're welcome.
It's time for the Fitness Business Podcast Wrap.
Here are my top takeaways from this week's show. Jeb said that the human experience is far more important than anything else, and that although technology is driving customer experiences, studies show that it's how customers interact and how they feel about the people in your business that will have more of an effect on their decision to choose you. He said someone will do business with you if you can bridge their problems with your solutions, and if you can do it in a way that uses their language, which of course you learnt because you were listening to that person. He also said that people don't buy for your reasons, they buy for their reasons. And when your prospect is talking, your mouth needs to remain shut, because when you listen, you make them feel important. Tribe, don't forget to tune in next week for part 2 of my interview with Jeb Blount. We talk about how to dive even deeper to uncover a prospect's underlying motivation. He answers the question, can anyone sell? And he shares his top 3 tips on selling services. Would learning from 12 worldwide industry experts help strengthen your business? This month, you can win the monster edition of Powerful Insights from Industry Experts, valued at $180 from our friends at Active Management. This ebook is 12 interviews with absolute industry guns. And to win, all you need to do is subscribe to the show notes at fitnessbusinesspodcast.com or engage with us on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. Go on, enter now. Thanks for joining me for another week of the Fitness Business Podcast. And remember, what you leave behind is not what's engraved in stone monuments, but what is woven into the lives of others.
Great show this week that you should be suffering DOMs, delayed onset mind soreness, as you are overloaded, and that's when your mind is strengthened. You and your business have been strengthened thanks to the amazing support of our premier sponsor, Active Management. Check out www.activemgmt.com.au only if you want to strengthen your business and your leadership. Don't forget, all today's links and notes are found at www.fitnessbusinesspodcast.com, where you can also subscribe and never miss a show and maybe win a prize. Next week is another incredible guest with Chantal, so get ready for more Fit Bizpiration.